Well, no wonder he didn't win.
Oh yeah, they promote Al Gore, and the thing is that then they, since I was already working with Stu at the time Hennigan came into the picture, the two of them tried to recruit me into their little Al Gore, thing, and I said no, and I basically told why. I said, I know what Al Gore is. I know who he is. He was involved in some things that I was also involved in way back from CIA, and some of it was New Age movement stuff. That he's not a good guy, he's not honest, and I want nothing to do with Al Gore.
Hey, is Al Gore bi?
What?
Is Al Gore bisexual?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Oh, all right. I'm guessing
You know what?
he is.
I would have no way of knowing, but
Sorry.
All I can tell you is that I make my decisions, as I'm sure you do, Keith. I make my decisions not on political ideology or anything. I make my decisions on principle. In other words, if a person is not a defender of liberty with no compromises, is not a messenger of truth, that's the most broad way I can say it. I don't want anything to do with that person, which unfortunately rules out most of the people that are out there, doesn't it?
Yeah, and let me just explain something too, because, all right, let me say the good things.
Okay.
Stu had started to train, Train, guests to me for a consecutive number of weeks when I was on the AM stations over in Dade City. And that was fine, but we hadn't made any arrangements for the next show, per se, and we would normally have done that, but we didn't, so I had made arrangements to bring on another guest. And as I'm walking into the station, Stu rings me on the cell phone, goes, "Well, you're ready to go." I'm going, "Stu, what are you talking about?" He's going, "Well, I got another person." I'm going, "Stu, this isn't like the Stu Webb Presents thing." But I mean, yeah. It's okay. But here's what happened, and this got really interesting, and you can relate to this maybe, and respond to it if you will. And I'm sorry this happened this way, but he brought on Jackie McAuley. Do you remember that name?
I know Jackie.
With the McMartin case.
Yes, I know Jackie.
All right, now Jackie came on, but here's what happened. I crawled on my knees to, basically to beg forgiveness for bumping my scheduled guests. But Jackie came on, and, I felt bad for her because, and I trust her, but the thing was, she sounded very, very skittish. And her volume was really low, and she didn't seem at all at ease. And I had done no research, and that McMartin situation was so far from my, cognizance.
Yes.
I couldn't ask reasonable questions, and it was a painful, and I'm sorry, but I mean, I was like, Stu, damn, you know what I mean? This is not the way to do these things. And I never talked to Jackie again. And then after that also, Stu got out of hand. And I'm going to say this, and understand, okay? This is like, what was that movie, Where Art Thou, Brother? I mean, Stu would come on the air, and we were at the AM stations. Now remember, you said that censorship is not necessarily the right of the station owners. Well, it kind of is.
Sure it is. All
right. So the thing is, the whole bit about the Bush family being pedophiles and sacrificing children in Sidonia Castle. You know what? I really don't doubt that all goes on, but you can't say it on air unless you can back it up.
Okay, well, exactly, Keith. Here's the thing. One of the problems that I had with Stu, and was that I told Stu, here's my policy. I told him from the get-go, from day one. I said, look, here's my policy. I do not write up articles or speak about anything on a radio show or TV show unless I can back up what I'm saying, unless I have evidence, unless I have some facts or personal knowledge. And I said, if you want to go out and do that, that's your business, but don't try to drag me in, and don't try to get me to promote this because I'm not going to do it.
Well, what happened with us is he started on this, and Harry, who sat across the way from me, held a hand to his face, like with a space between his index and middle finger, with his eye poking out.
Yes.
And I'm nodding, going, I know. And then the station manager, actually he was the owner at the time, who loved us, looked at me. I'm going, I know.
Yes.
I waved to him because I had to do a
Yeah.
disclaimer. Now, let me say this. Again, he might be right, and we don't necessarily think he's wrong, but you have to back it up, or you have got to flee that, because they will come down on the stations.
Of course.
But here's the other thing that really queered the deal. When Stu went into this thing about being confronted with, like the 500-pound Baphomet with the bifurcated tail.
Oh, yeah, I remember that story.
Well, what happened was, you remember when Where Art Thou, Brother came out, or whatever that was, with George Clooney, and he goes into that rap. Well, when that happened, I mean, Harry looked at me, and he just burst out laughing. I mean, he had to choke himself off from the mic.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, I know. This is not going to go over well.
Well, yeah, Stu, I'll tell you something. He comes out with some pretty bizarre stories. And it's not that I doubt, believe me, Keith, it's not that I doubt that he himself believes what he's saying, or perhaps even has experienced some of these things. All kinds of things are out there. But the way that he presents the information, it does sort of destroy the credibility of what he's trying to convey,
Yeah, and I mean, I don't doubt that he was once plugged in, and it seems he was, and badly scorned, and I can understand the sting of that with his former marriage.
I'll tell you one thing that I absolutely know to be true, because I can tell you just from my own experience that I listened for many, many, many hours to Stu, telling me things, he was relating to me terrible things that have happened to him, just horrible things, and some of them involved Ted Gunderson, some of the things that were done to him. And I actually had tears rolling down my face. I was so upset hearing this. There's no doubt whatsoever that Stu has been badly, badly burned and damaged and everything like that. My heart goes out to him. But the way to respond to it is not to go off the deep end and exaggerate things and what he does. That does not give him credibility.
No. And I mean, we will agree. He came from a place where he had insider knowledge. He is a very likable human being.
Yes.
But it got to a point, and that's why I didn't even dare contact you, because I figured you'd jump me. Which is it's my own problem.
Well, because of Stu?
Well, because you know what? It's like I can go so far. And, I mean, we looked, and, I mean, we had to start doing disclaimers at the station, which is only reasonable. But it was because of Stu. And let me mention one other thing, and let me ask you this, if this fits right in your recollection. I would say, because I was a heavy-duty GCN listener at the time, that what got Jeremy kicked off was having Stu on.
That's another possibility.
Well,
but Jeremy wasn't,
Jones...
Remember, Jeremy wasn't kicked off. He quit.
Well, we can argue about that, but let me just say this. Jones was listening to Floyd because they were starting to prepare him as being like the next Alex Jones.
Yes.
Miller was grooming him. Everybody was fawning him and petting him. Personally, I thought he was okay, but I didn't think he was all that. But anyway, he had Stu on, and Jones called GCN and said, do you know what good old Stu is saying? So, in other words, like Jeremy or not like Jeremy, no problem. But the thing is, here you go to one of these situations where it's like, Stu, guys, you can't say this. You either got to cut him off, do something, or we got to dump him. My understanding is they dumped Jeremy in back of the Stu Webb thing.
Well, anything is possible, Keith. I'm sure a lot of things were going on there, and I know that Stu, for quite some time, Stu and Jeremy were working very closely together, and it was almost like a lot of Jeremy's information or what he was focusing or pursuing came from Stu Webb. So I do know that to be true.
No, and I mean Jeremy obviously was classic, and had been brought along, and I that's fine. But to go to the wall at the time when Stu was